Braden, what really stood out to me, man, from watching your highlight video was just your concentration you had on your catches. Whether you had to go through traffic, going over somebody, making a diving catch when your body's twisted and turned in a different direction, that's what really stood out to me from your video, man. Now, my suggestions for your highlight video are the following. Okay, the first thing is an information slide at the very beginning. Now, I know that you've got one over here with all your stats and everything else, but I would take these off. Okay, and the reason I would take these off is because a college coach can get these from your high school coach. Okay. And sometimes coaches really don't look at stats as much because they know if you're a player, you're going to have the stats. Okay, so that's something I wouldn't necessarily have as the other information you want to have on this information slide is your name, school, graduation year, position, height and weight, X account, email, and phone number. Okay, and the reason we want to have this on here, all right, is because we want to have all the information right there when a coach pulls up your video. Okay, I know you've got it down here, but until I looked at it the last second, I didn't see this stuff. Okay, this is what they're going to look at more than the comments and everything else. Okay, this is what they want to see, and the reason being, right, is because that way they know how to contact you, okay, and how they can get a hold of you or follow you on X. And if they don't have those things with how short and valuable their time is, they're going to pass on it. Okay, now the best way to go about making this information slide, all right, is to go on Canva. This is free. You go to one of their slides, you put all the information that I listed on the left, put a picture of you on the right, download that, and then upload that to the very first thing on your video. Okay, like I said, that way, boom, as soon as they pull up your video, all the information is right there that they need. Okay, now moving on to removing plays / non-highlights. All right, and this is more. You really didn't have any plays necessarily as much as it was the other videoing or the slow motion or like the stuff that you could tell was from a social media page or something like that you had in there, okay? Or when things maybe faded out or something like that, right? Mainly, we want to take that stuff out because that doesn't necessarily showcase your strengths or transfer to the next level as much. And also, it kind of just can distract those college recruiters from evaluating your film, and that's not what we want to have. Okay, because when these guys watch it, they're watching a lot from the wide or the tight view, depending on the position. And so, sometimes when things are zoomed in or taken from a video camera, or excuse me, a camera on the sideline or something like that, it kind of throws off their rhythm. When these guys do this, they're sitting in a dark room and watching 60 to 100 kids in a day. Okay, they've got. This is how I did. I watched that many kids in a day. I got a lamp on. I got music going, and you just kind of get in the zone. And sometimes when a different video kind of pops up, it kind of throws them off the rhythm. And sometimes I've seen coaches, if it like the music or there's captions or background sounds or different things going on, the slow mo or the spot shadows and the captions and all that stuff is kind of throwing them off. They'll pass on a kid. Okay, and so just kind of clean that up. Clean that stuff up. Like I said, you just want to widen the tight angles. Make sure you're starting and stopping them at the right time. That way, coaches can really truly see it. All right, because we don't want to take away from the player that you are with everything else going on in there. All right, now how to order your plays. You want to put all your offensive plays first, and then your special teams plays at the end of that. All right, and the reason being is so that way a receiver, college coach could just watch the offensive plays. They're not necessarily going to want to watch the returns. All right, because they're just focused on you as a receiver. Okay, now. With that being said, that kind of goes along with our sequence of plays, all right? And we want to go with long TDs, then short TDs, explosives, which is anything 15 to 20 plus yards, all right? And then blocking as well. If you've got any big blocking plays on there that you got technique right, pancake or something like that, and this is kind of just for a future deal as well for when you make the next video, okay? For your senior year, when you make that, add that in there because no block, no rock, right? If you're not going to block and do the things you got to do on the outside, they're not. Sometimes coaches won't want to give you the ball, okay? So they like seeing that stuff. And then finishing that off with their remaining offensive highlights. Now, this is not necessarily an explosion play, but still a good play that showcases what you can do. All right, still, like I said, it's not really one of those deals, but maybe a deal of, boom, we catch some of the ones that, like you had on here. You caught the stop route at 8 yards, but you had to turn around completely to make the catch. Okay, just showing that you can still have that concentration stuff, and then follow that up with the special teams play. Okay, so like I said, within these sections, all right, you want to have your best 3 to 4 to 5, maybe 6 plays, okay, give or take, depending on if one's got a couple or 2, and you can add a couple more to the other, okay, because our video, we want to keep between 3 to 4 to 5 minutes, all right, and you're within that time, so we're fine there, okay, but we just want to make sure we put our best plays first, all right, because we want to capture that coach's attention. Like I said, he's watching 60 to 100 kids. If after a minute he doesn't see something, he's going to pass on to the next kid, so we've got to capture his attention early, and that's why we want to kind of move these plays where they want to be within these sections, all right. Now, the timestamps that I've got on here, okay, these are what I would start each section out with. Okay, so to kind of go off here, all right, the 6-second mark, right, your very first play that you've got on here is a great one to start out with. Okay, so like I said, boom, just come up to this. We don't have to necessarily worry about the other side of things. All right, great job, great concentration. Okay, and this is kind of a reason, like I said, with all this stuff here, just boom, go to the next play. All right, because it can just be a distraction to these coaches. All right, so we just don't want to have that with them. Next, going to the 44-second mark, showing your short TD. So this is anything 25 and in. Okay, great job, boom. Running quick slant, still moving, not stopping, okay? Having the concentration. Ball's coming over. Sometimes it's hard to receive from a quick slant standpoint, especially in the red zone when you're in a short area, okay? It's a great job there. Next, going to the 139 mark. This is also within your short TDs. So I go with the 44-second one and then to the 139, not 139 one, excuse me, okay? Going to this one here, okay, just showing that you can do motion, okay, showing that you can do motion. Sometimes guys can, sometimes they can't, but then also that you're going to fight for those 2 yards to get into the end zone. That is a great job there, okay, just showing those little nicks, little tweaks. Sometimes coaches like to see that stuff, all right, and then backing up to the 23-second mark, okay, just showing the explosive play here, all right, great job going up high point in the football, boom, that's picture perfect right there, okay, and boom, staying in bounds. That is a great job right there. Okay, and then like I said, go to the blocking, and then we'll follow that up with the remaining offensive highlights here. Okay, so the one I've got here for you is at the 101 mark. All right, like I said, about the 8-yard stop route or 10-yard, boom, great job making the adjustment. Quarterback threw the ball low and away, and you make that catch right there. That is an unbelievable catch. That's a great job. Okay, and then follow that up lastly with the 51-second of your return here. Okay, it's a great job. Make sure we spot shadow ourselves there. Okay, and then just take off here. Okay, that way, then coaches see that boom, you can be a special teams guy. That kind of helps out in the long run. All right, so like I said, change up that information slide, remove all those non-highlights that we have on there, okay? Just, you want the wide or the tight views, all right? Just put those on there, make sure our spot shadows are right, change up the order and sequence of plays, okay? Overall, this will provide a more dynamic highlight video for college coaches, all right? Now, after going over the game field feedback, let's take a look at what divisions you should target. I'm basing this off of the most recent highlight video, which is exactly what college coaches are going to do and where the athlete can receive a scholarship right now. Like I said, the video we just watched, if a college coach got this right now, that's what I'm going off of, okay? And this is more a current evaluation opposed to a projected evaluation, all right? This is based on a few criteria. First thing is your graduation year, all right? You guys are up. 2026 is done. They're done with that. They're in spring ball. As soon as they get done with spring ball, boom, they're on to 2027, okay? So we've got to be on our stuff and make sure we're getting ready to roll. With that being said, though, all right, use that as an advantage. You've got an off season, you've got mid-season, you got camps, you got mid-season highlights, and then a full season highlights to get that stuff improved and everything else. All right, because what a college coach is really going to look at for receiver is size, foot speed, long speed, and strength. All right, that's what they're really going to look at. And with that being said, the levels you should look at today for a scholarship are upper D3 to lower to mid to upper NAIA. All right, now you should start getting interest and offers from these college coaches at these levels. All right, and if not, you need to start the communication process with them through emailing and calling them. Okay, like I said, it's 2027, so we got to get this thing going if we haven't got anything yet. All right, you need to start getting your name out there through social media. Make sure you're following these coaches on next. Make sure you're DMing them. Once you update your video, boom, send it to them. Okay, make sure we're doing those things. Make sure you're marketing and branding yourself in the correct way, doing things on and off the field in the right way as well. Okay, and here's the deal: why we need to send these to these coaches? Because camp season's coming up. All right, when you go attend these camps, we need to know if these coaches like your video or not. All right, upon getting there, because if we go to a camp where a coach doesn't really like our video, sometimes that money might be a little bit more spent somewhere else at a different camp where we know these coaches really want us there. Okay, because when I was a coach before and stuff like that, we offered a lot of kids at camp. Okay, sometimes when you go to these mega camps with all these other kids, you got to, as a college coach, it's crazy because you get a 40-page paper with 1,000 kids' names on it, and it's kind of hard to focus on these bigger or focus on one single kid and really want to evaluate them and stuff like that because there's so many kids, you're trying to look at so many. But sometimes when you go to these different camps where it's more of a one-on-one or a smaller setting, you can develop that relationship. You can introduce yourself to that coach easier. You can talk to that coach. You can kind of have a coaching session with them of, hey, this you're doing one-on-ones. Coach said, hey, try this, blah, blah, blah. All right. Hey, when you get to the top route, sink your hips this way, cut in 1-2 outside, and then break in or something like that. Okay. They kind of have that little bit more one-on-one with you. All right. And here's the deal. Then when you send them that mid-season highlight, you're going to have a relationship with them, and they're going to know who they're watching. They're going to see what they just coached you on. All right, I can't translate to the video. Okay, but here's the deal: how can we also go attack these levels and get better? My suggestion to improve your game that translates to college football and possibly a higher division are the following. First thing is strength training. All right, got to work on adding good weight, making sure we're developing that explosion and power. Okay, because we've got to get off those jams from corners when they try to jam us at the line of scrimmage. All right, we're going across the middle. The linebacker can't walls, so we've got to have that strength to be able to do that because that throws off that time. Work on foot speed. Okay, dot drills, ladder drills, cone drills. Okay, you got to be able to get it out of that breakaway at the top of the route. Got to be able to get off the press from a corner. Got to work on long speed. If you're not in track, you got to be in track. Speed training is very vital for a receiver position. Okay, you get called for the deep ball or a smoke screen, you got to be able to take the top off, and you can't get caught from behind. Okay, got to be able to do that. Developing receiver craft even more. Jugs, tennis ball work. Okay, working on that hand-eye coordination all the time. Don't want to let up on that. As a receiver coach, a former receiver coach, every small drill we did, we finished with a catch, whether that was with a football or tennis ball. Okay, working on developing a deep and quick game route tree mastery. Be able to run all routes from inside and outside. That's going to help you when you get to college, and if they can see that on film for your senior year of, okay, this guy can play kind of anywhere. He's not just stuck at one position. That helps them in their being able to get you offers and everything else. All right, and then lastly, working on. I'll add this in there. Working on flexibility. Pre and post training stretching. Okay, if you guys don't do it as a team, make sure you're doing it on your own because this will help prevent injury. Which your best ability is your availability. Because if we're dinged up and nicked up in high school, that's going to hurt our chances of video, which then hurts our chances in offer. Then you go to college, that's going to then hurt our chance on the depth chart. Okay, so we got to make sure we're taking care of our body, especially hamstrings for receivers. All right, and these improvements are what a receiver college coach will look at. So double down, do all these things, hit it hard, and if it translates to your video, this can help you level up your evaluation and possibly have an opportunity at that lower to mid D2 level. But Braden, at the end of the day, man, everything's going to come down to your individual work, your outreach, all right, as well as your marketing on social media. and your relationship building with college coaches. Those relationships in college football are huge. Okay, got to make sure we're working on those. Which is why the next step is your athlete interview, where you're going to get an interview with a coach and get coached on your communication and your interviewing skills, which is critical for the conversations you're about to start having with college coaches. So make sure you watch the video beforehand and be ready to go. If you have any questions, we'll be able to answer them at the end of the interview. Thank you.